Activities to encourage Indonesians to develop healthy habits of sports are taking places in National Sports Week. And this time, the government has taken a bold move. Indonesia's easternmost province is to host the biggest multi-sport competitions in the country. In the other words, Papua is about to host the National Sports Week from 20th October to 2nd November 2020. As this quadrennial event is really important to the country, therefore, in the first graphic, I would like to reveal more about the quick seat facts of 2020 National Sports Week. So let's see the data. So here it is, the seat facts in number of National Sports Week 2020 in the number. As we can see, it would be attended by 6,442 athletes, and not to mention about 37 sports of game that will be held. And then the budget is really high by 2.3 trillion rupiah. And the spectators are going to be 40,000 in the seating capacity, and we can see that would be 3,000 of 200 official teams, and of course, not to mention about the officials that would attend, that would be 2,800 officials, and it is sourced by the Ministry of Sport. And with the seating capacity of 40,000, it will be the largest in eastern Indonesia. The stadium itself meets the FIFA standards for its football field, and it has additional field for training purposes. And talking about the progress, the stadium, which will be the main venue for the national event, is still under construction. Iwan Supriyanto, as the head of the Center for Educational, Sports and Market Infrastructure Development, said he expected the constructions to be completed by April this year. And according to President, the 2020 National Sport Weeks, including stadium constructions, is sourced by several funds. From where is it? And let's reveal the fact through the next graphic. Here it is, the fund source for the National Sport Week 2020. It would be from the state budget, of course, and then not to mention about regional budget of Papua itself, as the Papuan government has agreed with that, and also the private sectors for the number of projects. And specifically, according to the President, the stadium constructions is funded by the regional budget, while funding for the other infrastructure being built for the event will come from the state budget. And budget transparency is also seen as the urgency. Therefore, to maintain its transparency, government break down the funding through three proportions. So what are those? So let's see it through the next graphic. So here it is, the fund management proportions. So the budget would be transparent. First of all, the higher proportions goes to main committee of the National Sport Week 2020, which is as much as 70%. And the 30% goes through the Central National Sports of Committee of Indonesia, or we so call it as CONI, and the Specialized Sport Funding Agency, or LPUDK. For CONI is as many as 20%, while the other, which is 10%, goes to the Specialized Sport Funding Agency, or LPUDK. And one thing that is very special, as I mentioned before, the game will be placed in Papua. And Papua, as a matter of fact, is about 3,463 kilometers from capital Jakarta. To make it easier, it needs approximately a 6-hour flight away. With the unrest challenges in building infrastructure for the games, many have questions to Papua readiness to be the host. And there are actually sad facts about this. Papuan government puts its best effort to run the game, but however, it also needs more sacrifices to do that. And various steps were taken, starting to hold intense meetings with the various groups, including budget cutting, also program cutting from several programs to develop Papua itself. So what are those? Then let's see the data. Here it is, the impacts of 2020 National Sport Week in Papua. Sadly, Papua needs to cut some programs of the development in itself. First of all, program cutting of Papua's Kampung Development Strategic Program in 2019. And the second of all is the program cutting of Gerakan Membangun Harapan Seluruh Masyarakat Papua, which these two programs are designed to develop the empowerment of Papua itself. And then the budget cutting. Talking about the budget cutting, there are two cutting budgets that will be done. First of all, budget cutting of regional unit force, and budget cutting of special autonomy funds, or we can call it as Dana Otsus in Indonesia. And it is sad because both programs were cancelled because the Papua provincial government focused its budget on building and completing a sports venue in Papua. And the government said that the 2019 provincial budget is more focused on the readiness to administer 2020 National Sport Week. Therefore, there are budget cutting in regional units force and special autonomy funds. But however, this statement is contradict with the region of Mimika, Altinus Omaling, that say National Sport Week must not burden 2019 provincial budget, because basically provincial budget has to be used for Papua's development up until now. And a multi-sport event held every 4 years where Indonesian athletes compete is the largest sporting event in Indonesia. But big sport event needs big funding as well, doesn't it? So let's see how it went years by years through the next graphic. Here it is. We can see the budget allocated for the National Sports Week budget. So first of all, in 2012, it needs around 2.2 trillion rupiah for making the National Sport Week in 2012. And moving on, it needs like around 3.2 trillion rupiah for making 2016 National Sport Week budget. And then moving on to the lastest, which is will be going to be 2.3 trillion rupiah needed for 2020 National Sport Week. And then the aim for the fund is to provide Indonesian support for the largest sports facility project. In 2020 National Sport Week, this amount of money is needed to be built the competition's venue that according to plan would be distributed in 5 selected districts, which is our Jayapura, Wamena, Timika, Biak, and also Merauke. Sports, aside from being competitions in the various fields and classes, can become an envelope of to develop the unity between the groups. And we hope nothing for the best for this multi-sport event held every 4 years, where Indonesians athletes complete to be successful without any major problems. So stay tuned at Market Headlines.